Life gives you a million reasons to make excuses that get in the way of what you truly want.
Being a business owner, spouse, and mom can be a recipe for straight chaos, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it anyway. I'm Chelsea.
And I'm Laura.
We're two best friends who catch up through the podcast
and talk everything to do with this messy but fun life of entrepreneurship. You know what I was just thinking?
What?
When are we going to start drinking on this show?
Oh my God, what is wrong with us? Actually, I had said that before we started this, and you were like, well, normally we're going to be doing them in the mornings. But like we can make exceptions.
I feel like today it's Friday. It's 10 to 12.
Well, yeah, we never do Fridays.
This is the day we should have done it.
Damn. Normally I do have something in the fridge. We weren't. If I was at home, I'd just go right in the fridge. But I'm at the office as
I could.
You guys can see.
But I won't be the only one drinking for today.
Yeah, I can't start too early. Ben has been loving Nova 7. Well, because when we were we have been drinking it ever since. But he drinks it like it's friggin' water.
It's
of course.
So good, though.
It is so good. But he's like, man, this is expensive. I go buy like 4 bottles, and then I come back and drink 2 on my own. Like, and he's just warming up. I'm like, Ben, like... And he's getting drunk, but he just thinks it's so easy to drink that he's not realizing.
Yeah. It is so easy to drink. And then all of a sudden, like 3 glasses later, you're like, wow, I have a buzz on. But it goes down like juice.
I know. But he's lucky that it's like a good drunk on him. You know when like you have certain things that it's like, do not drink that.
Yeah.
I mean, his is mostly like how much? He's usually pretty good. Yeah. But he doesn't get mean or anything. He's just kind of funny. So
yeah, like some people get kind of wild on rum or tequila.
Oh, he can for sure. Yeah. Not that this is a podcast about like Ben drinking, because he doesn't drink very often at all. Poor guy.
No,
all we do, all we do is work. So like he deserves a good night here and there. Yeah. I'm just talking about when we were young, and he's still drinking the same thing, white Captain Morgan and Pepsi. So there's been some wild nights for sure, but they're not now. Anyways, my point being that maybe wine's okay for him. And we have a couple bottles for tonight. So if I had started this morning.
Love it.
I'd be in bed.
Nova 7 you could totally have as a daytime drink.
It's like the best.
It's not really a mimosa. You don't even need to mix it because it's so good. But it's like that nice sparkly,
When it's like hot out, it's so good.
Oh, I know. It's sunny here today. Is it sunny there?
Sponsored by Nova 7. I wish.
I know, right? We should get on that.
Yeah. It's kind of sunny. Like yesterday it was raining. It's okay. Yeah, it's going to be sunny this afternoon, I think.
Yeah, it's been rainy all week here, and it was like a total mood killer for me.
Yeah.
Partially in a weather funk, I was just like, oh, I don't know. But today it was cloudy when we woke up, and then the sun just broke at like an hour and a half ago. I was like, oh my goodness, thank you. Thank you. Because I need the sunshine. I need to see blue skies.
Yeah.
And also I was like, we're the opposite here. I was not ready for fall. I am not ready for fall. It is only August 19th. I don't know when we're going to publish this. It's going to be a lot later. But anyways, it's only mid to end of August. I don't need fall yet. Meanwhile, Chelsea's ready to dig out her pumpkins and start making pumpkin spice lattes.
Oh my God, I gave somebody like the pumpkin spice to put on top of their lattes yesterday in a closing gift.
Exactly.
And I'm pissed I didn't get it for myself.
He's probably like got her sweaters dug out.
No. We're not there yet. I don't like being too warm, so I have to wait. Like I need to do like edgy but still summer clothes for a while.
But
and every single
cold. This week was cold.
It's cool and it's cooler in the mornings and evenings for sure. But I was saying we went shopping last week, me and Jess, and for her birthday. It's the same birthday as you.
Yes, I know. I saw that.
Isn't that so cute?
And I think we realized that when I was over.
Yeah, I already knew, but I'll never forget her birthday.
I know you knew, but it was funny when we met, right? Like that we have the same birthdays, and we're two of Chelsea's favorite people. So
yeah, exactly. Wonder why. But yeah, I was saying to her, because I was trying on these sweaters and stuff, and she's like, that's so cute. I'm like, I'd never get to wear it. She's like, why? Winter? I'm like, yeah, you guys jack the heat. She just like you. Maybe it's in the birthday. Every assistant actually I've ever had likes the heat to be so warm, and I hate being so I need to come to the office in like a bathing suit in the dead of the winter because they're like, "Oh, I'm so cold." I'm like, "Bring a blanket." Like there is a blanket here for Jess.
That's so cute. That would totally be me too. Because even every time I come to your house, the first thing I do is curl up on
Get a blanket. Yeah, because it's too cold. Oh my gosh. I don't know how I lucked out. Ben's not really like that. Thank God.
That's good. That's good.
Is Zach like that? Are you?
He likes it like you. Like he'd like it cool.
Like a normal person. Yeah. I'm just joking. I'm just joking because I seem to be outnumbered. Okay. We tried to film this a
few days ago.
Yeah, it didn't work. We've had some technical difficulties. So hopefully this is working this time, and we are going to jump right into the topic now because we have nothing good to talk about besides that.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully it's good. I don't know. Actually, it will be good because we have very opposing views on this one. Mm-hmm. Laura, you can tell them what it is.
Okay. So the topic this week, or kind of like the question is there a right time to have a baby while running a business? And yeah, like Chelsea said, we don't see eye to eye on this one. So it's fun because it's nice to hear the two different perspectives for you guys. But let us know where you kind of sit on the matter, especially after you listen to it. Are you team Chelsea or team Laura? Because I think that it's something that a lot of people, if you are self-employed or maybe you do work, but you have a side gig, it's something that people really spend a lot of time thinking about before they start a family. Like, is there a right time to get into family life when you're in business life as well? So you want to go first?
Yeah. And the way that this even came up is because every time Laura will be like, "Oh, are you going to have another baby?" I'm like, "No, I can't right now." And she's like, "Why?" I'm like, because we have too much stuff going on right now. Like, I know, I guess that's my view. I know I can't control everything. I'm not a psychopath. I understand, especially when it comes to a baby, because they rule the roost when they're here. And you really don't know the first time. So you have no idea what you're getting into. Like, yes, every baby's different no matter what, but like even the process of being a first time mom. But I do think because I'm such a planner in business and because just a planner in life, I do think there's maybe not the right time, but there's certainly a better time to welcome that into our life for Ben and I anyways. And we definitely see eye to eye on that. And this sounds crazy, but like we'll literally kind of plan it in between like business and projects, which sounds so dumb. Like there was like when I started to tell Ben that we were ready for a baby. No, when I tried to plant those seeds initially, he was still like, there's so much going on. But I'm like, I've been grinding with my business for 8 years straight. It's time to do something for us and our family. And you can't drive yourself crazy that way where you just never put yourselves first. And I'm not saying that, but there are other things in our life that are also for us and for our future that'll benefit us and kids that we don't want to make too many stressful environments after a baby's here or after a second baby's here. So yeah, we're literally like, I'm like, okay, let's get this project started and this project started. And once we know we're in the clear to like, those projects will be done before we ever even thought about having or bringing another baby into this world, then I think that's the right time. So that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah.
And Laura's not like that.
No, I'm not. I'm more of a wing it personality. Right. And I think like, okay, so I kind of put down yes and no. Okay. Because there's a small part of me that does believe yes. And I'll talk about that more at the end. But I definitely lean more towards no, because I think with a lot of things in life, but especially parenthood or, growing your family or starting your family, we tend to really overanalyze and overthink things. And we think, I have to have all my ducks in a row. I have to be super prepared, especially if I'm going to bring a baby into this world. Like everything has to be just right. And it's never going to be just right. So that's my thing is like, you can spend so much time trying to prepare and plan that you can kind of miss the point of it. The point is, you know what I mean? Like, and even when the baby comes, you are always just figuring it out as you go. Like, it's not something you can totally plan and prepare for in that sense.
Yeah.
And I think probably that we have a little bit of, I have this mentality, and Zach, I think obviously as well. We have this mentality probably because our firstborn was a surprise. So like there was not a plan in place, you know? So we were totally thrown into it.
Yeah.
And
it worked.
Absolutely. Yeah. He was absolutely the best thing that ever happened to us, along with his two brothers. Right. So I think I have that mentality because we lived through it. We lived through the chaos. I wouldn't change a thing other than maybe spacing out my number 2 and number 3 a tiny bit more. But like, I just think we can really prolong the process by overanalyzing and trying to be, you know, totally prepared and ready to go. But my yes side of it, like, yes, I do think there's a right time, is more to do with, I think, the industry specific aspect. So when Chelsea and I talk about a lot of things, our industries are so different and our roles are so different. Mine is very flexible. Like, I can be sitting in my living room in my bathrobe, breastfeeding my infant and working on my phone if I have to. You know, that's not the ideal, right? Yes, you want to soak up the moment and enjoy those precious moments. But sometimes, yes, I can answer something or schedule some posts and like have content going out and keep some of my work going while I'm a flustered stay-at-home mom who hasn't showered in 5 days and hasn't eaten whatever, right? Like, I can fit it in easily that way. Whereas Chelsea has to like physically go out and meet people, do showings, sign contracts.
There's a smaller percentage of me that can fully like, I could like have some time like that at home or have more time like that. And that's normally that's what I did. And that's part of my plan when I do have a baby is, you know, taking a step back and having more of that time. But what does that involve? That involves time ahead to prep everything. Like literally, I did content planning this morning with Jess because we're trying to get so far ahead in the content that when that day does come, I'm not going to be so stressed that I need to be back in the office the next day, because that's a big part of the thing that I found when I did have RJ is a huge part of the way, maybe not that a realtor runs business, but me as a realtor, I do videos all the time. That is like my thing. That is how I connect with people. It's usually like the personal touch of me feeling like I'm talking to people, and you can't really replace that.
No.
So that's my struggle. I'm trying to think of the thought that you were saying something. Oh, you were saying everything being perfect or like in line. And I agree with that. But I guess my point being that I wasn't expecting everything to be perfect, but I knew the big things that were going to be extremely stressful for us. And I didn't want to ruin my time with a new baby or our time as a family, and Ben and I not being like, we didn't know how it was going to be. So I'm like, I don't want us to be stressed with each other. This is a time where we're really supposed to enjoy it. So actually, like, we were supposed to build our house and start our house when I was pregnant. And I was like, nope, kibosh it. Like, we've built houses before, but this was our forever home and I wanted to be into it. And the most stressful part of the build is the end. That's when you're like pinching pennies, you're trying to bridge gaps financially and stuff. So and it happens with every project, not just our houses. So that's why I'm kind of like, okay, get this over with and this over with, and then we can do it. The in-between stuff, like our normal jobs, I can handle that. But bringing, like, you got to think about it. Every project that we do, it's almost like we have our normal jobs and then we have another entire like side hustle going on that we've added into the mix, and it needs to have an end time before you also bring in a baby. So those are my things, like the extra things. So if you were like super ramping up, right, you know what I mean? Like, you would want a little bit of planning around that. You've talked about that with Bo and stuff. But anyways, I know what you're saying. People take it to the extra mile of just like, I remember we knew someone in the office that would always say like, well, I want to have a vacation, and then this person's getting married and I want to be able to party. And then, and I'm like, okay, but when does it stop? So that's what you're saying. It's like, there's no picture perfect. You don't need to like sabotage the whole situation. But yeah.
Yeah. And no, like, I think too, I don't know. I maybe put myself in a lot of stressful situations. So now I'm just like, whatever, you can do it. You know what I mean? Like, it'll work out. I just have that mentality now because
which is so funny. It's so funny because
into our house right now, which was still under renovation. We did not have countertops. The day I moved home the day I came home from the hospital with Cash as like a 2-day-old baby boy is the day we moved into this house. So we were in boxes. And Zach obviously was moving all the boxes onto the truck and everything and whatever. But like, yeah, we physically moved the day we brought our baby home. And I don't even remember, but we didn't have a lot of things. Like,
I remember this happening,
things, but like we had a
well, they don't move.
What?
They don't move anywhere. Whatever.
No, they don't. I'm more just so talking about my other two.
Yeah.
Like, there's definitely some electrical things that I'm like, looking back.
Don't stick your finger. Don't lick that.
Right. Yeah. But I was 7, 8, 9 months pregnant when we were finishing up the craziness of this reno to even make it livable. And the day that I'm trying to remember how this all went, but the day that I went into labor, I remember coming here with Mom in the morning. The boys were already here, meaning Zach and my dad and his dad, trying to it was all hands on deck. I think there was also some brothers or brother-in-laws here just trying to get as much done as possible because I was just a few days away from, they were going to potentially induce me. So anyway, so we were just a few days away from that. So everyone was here. And I remember coming in and I think I was starting to feel crampy or something. And Mom just kind of knew. Yeah. So she's like, maybe you should be like asking Zach to come back to the house and, you guys start getting your stuff together so that if you need to go somewhere, you can go somewhere. I'm like, no, I think I'm fine. I think it's all good.
That's what happens on your third baby when they're walking right at you.
And
actually, he was your hardest delivery.
Yeah, well, it's because he was the biggest, but and also because the girl delivering it was all about like, she just wants the process to be slow so that it's not too painful. Anyhow, we won't get into all that today.
Yeah, no, that's too much. We're only the fifth or sixth podcast in. We need to relax on that side.
But no, it wasn't long after that I was like, okay, Zach, you should probably head home. I think it's time, whatever.
So here's a question. Now that you did, because that was your first house together that you guys are renovating, knowing that if you were pregnant now, would you start another house?
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Oh, you maniac. Okay. Yep. She has not changed her stance. Okay. Yeah. You're just like, I don't know. I love that about you. And you know what's so funny? I never thought you'd be like that. Like the Laura I first met, she was so picky. She is picky about certain things. She's picky about design and how everything looks. And sometimes I'm like, Laura, you're gonna make it so perfect that you'll never get it out. And I'm like that in business. Like, okay, it's better out than not out at all. And then in real life, you're like, hello, it's better to just have a baby and figure it out than to wait. So we're completely like opposite in that sense, but it just shocks me that you're so free spirited and I love it. And I wish I could be more like that. I don't know. I don't know if I was in a different business, would I be less like this? I don't know. I think it's because contracts, I know how much of a serious transaction it is for everybody that I'm working with. Like you can't ignore the fact that contracts are contracts, deadlines are deadlines. So whether or not I'm having a bad day or the baby's having a bad day or that like this matter. If I'm going to be taking on clients, I need to be able to see it through the same way I would without a baby. And if I can't do that, I shouldn't be taking them. So I feel like the seriousness around transactions and contractual law is what
Yeah.
makes me so intense, I guess. Yeah, you're right about different industries.
And that's why I said I think it is kind of industry specific and is to do with like flexibility a little bit. And I remember, I don't know if I've said this on past episodes, but I definitely know I've said it to Chelsea before. One of my friends in Arbonne, she used to be a realtor with, I think, Remax. She's actually from the Halifax area.
Who?
And I remember she stood up at the front of the room once at a training.
Who is this? Pega?
No. Angie Garnier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So she stood up at the front of the room once at a training, and I don't know if she's still a realtor or not, but one of the things that she just found that I guess turned her on to a business like Arbonne was that she said, you know, when I'm sitting around the dinner table at night with my family and my phone might go off for an Arbonne related issue, I know that there's really
she's not leaving the table. Yeah, she's not.
You know, I don't have to run up and grab my phone because someone's lipstick needs to be exchanged or, you know, whatever the case may be. I can handle that in a half an hour when I'm done my supper with my family. But when I was in real estate, if I have a contract on the go, if I know that there is this coming back from a lawyer or there's this deadline coming up and my phone is buzzing, I have to answer that. That is time sensitive. It is my job to be, you know, diligent and on top of those things, because if you don't answer certain things on time, it is make or break in a deal.
It is.
And that's people.
And we've obligated ourselves to take care of those situations.
Yeah. It's like a lot of money and it's their home. It's not, oh, I don't really like this flavor of protein. Can I exchange it? Which is still, yes, we want to handle those things timely, but they absolutely can wait. If I'm changing a diaper, if I'm dealing with a child melting down, if I'm cooking my kids' supper, those can absolutely wait. Right. Yeah. So I always loved that analogy of like, there's no Arbonne emergencies. And that's, I think, kind of what our point is in all of this. It's like a yes and no, because no, you can't wait forever. You can't put your family off because you're going to be in a friend's wedding or you want to go away with your hubby first or whatever. Like you can't always do that. Yes, do it for sure. But do you know what I mean? Like you said, there will always
you can. It is your life. You can do whatever you want to do. But coming from
but there will always be something.
Yeah, exactly. It's not going to stop. So what's our next question?
Have a surprise.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, just let it be whatever it's going to be. Yeah. Flower child.
Most challenging is the next thing.
Yeah. What do we remember being the most challenging?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I have to read what I put down because I think I already kind of said this. Yeah, I start with saying it says my headspace and not knowing what I'll still be able to accomplish or not. This was before having RJ being like, I'm just really not sure how this is going to go. So how do I set it up? My plan failed. I had no assistant at the time. They needed to go. They weren't here for me. In the role that they got hired for became very flexible, very quick. Because I wasn't going to be in the office and I don't feel that it was the right fit to fully kind of have my back in that situation. I don't think that the time was being used wisely. So I didn't decide to keep somebody in that role, but man, oh man, hiring somebody new is not an option because it takes all your time. And all that time I was like, no, I'd rather just spend that with my baby. And it would take less time for me to deal with any business that comes up or work with a team member to take them. But as I said before, a lot of my job requires to look presentable. As any new mom, this is a huge accomplishment in itself to get up and get ready, let alone continue it into something after that. I wonder if I would be more chill the next time or if I just forget how much work it was when they need you full time. I truly don't know the answer to that. Like, I don't know if I'm just so far, not so far, because you forget so quick. RJ's not 3 yet. And I already forget what it was like when he was a newborn. I think overall I would probably be more chill, but I don't know what that means for my day to day because I think I'm also forgetting how it feels to be super sleep deprived when there's just too much going on. And I'm kind of, no, I don't want to. What do you feel? I'm going to let you answer that first, and then I'll go into the next part. What do you feel was the most challenging?
Think number one, the most challenging thing was obviously just the transition into becoming a mom. Because
the first one for you,
the very first one, right? Like you just have no preparation or concept of how hard it's actually going to be. Like, yes, it's lovely. You made this little human and you never knew you could like love something so intensely, but then you're sleep deprived. Like you said, you have like all these feelings you've never felt in your life. Your hormones are so out of whack. Carla, like I cried over everything.
I did too. I was such a sap, and I'm not used to that for myself.
Right. Well, I kind of am used to it, but it was like overdrive. Everything made me cry. I was sore for so long.
True. C-section recovery is no freaking joke either.
Yeah, and I didn't
expect that.
Knock on wood, I was very fortunate because that's longer.
Yeah, you can't even drive for 6 weeks. So that's another thing. By the end of it, Ben was like dropping me and RJ off at the office in the morning and then coming back and getting me later.
And he'd have to like carry him in technically.
No, I knew I was going to be carrying a lot of shit. And in the office that I have right now, there is a stairwell, and I would never do that in the first couple of weeks, but because you're not even really supposed to do too many stairs and stuff. But I got like the lightest possible, I think it's like 4 pounds or something, the carrier.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because I knew I was going to be carrying him around everywhere. Yeah. But what a weird time.
I know, right? But I just remember that being like such a shock. Just all the things you don't know.
Your life goes on hold. Your life literally goes on hold. Like I remember it happening and feeling. One thing I did feel was I remember feeling, even though people have babies all the time, you're so oblivious. Like you don't know. And then I feel bad, like for any of my friends, including you, when I know I wasn't close in, actually like area to you, but I just feel like you don't really know how to help your friends who have babies before you until after you have a baby. And then you think back and you're like, I was not helpful and I didn't know how to be. So I don't want to carry too much guilt, but like you feel so alone that nobody else, you want to do these things, but nobody else has to do the same things as you in your day-to-day routine. And you're kind of thinking like, I'm just here having to do this. Like, nobody else understands, even though everybody has kids. Like so many people have kids. But in that moment, you feel like your world has stopped. Everybody else is still buzzing around you. And you're kind of feeling this like identity thing of like, whoa, what happened?
Yeah, for sure. It's a huge adjustment. So that was like the thing that I think is the most challenging, is trying to navigate that adjustment and also heal and all the things that you're supposed to try to do. And then also like making a connection with your newborn all amongst that. But on the business side of things, what I found to be the hardest was establishing a routine, because the moment you would think you get into some kind of routine with your newborn so that you could fit your work in and around that, then something would change. Their sleep schedule would change. Their nap schedule would change. They would get a tooth or multiple teeth. They would get sick. They would hit a sleep regression, whatever. Like all your routine was always changing or is always changing. So I found that part hard, because I found like I can get things done in nooks and crannies, but I kind of like to know when those little time chunks are going to be.
Yeah, which is impossible. I mean? You can hope for the best, but it's not always going to work out. Somebody said something to me when I was going through that, and that stuck the whole time. And they said, just remember, with a newborn, anything, whether it's good or bad, doesn't last forever.
Yeah.
So like if you're going through a shitty time, it could be gone in a couple days. If you like, for the other moms that are prancing around being like, my baby's so good, they sleep so good. Okay, talk to me next week. It might be different. And if you have a great baby, and everybody's baby's great, no babies are bad, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like they don't know what they're doing. They're existing. They're getting used to whatever's around them too, right? So
they're trying to communicate too, right?
Yeah, like and when I would go through like a really rough patch and be like, what the heck is happening? I go back and check one of those apps and I'm like, oh, It's a sleep regression. This is exactly what this is.
No, right? Thank goodness we have that technology, because if I ever had
it does calm you down.
Yeah, if I had to read a baby book, I'd be screwed.
True.
Because I'd be like, oh my God, where's the chapter on this?
Yeah, I give that.
We can just Google it or go to the Bump app or anything.
Post it on Instagram, get like free therapy.
Yeah, exactly. And then, just anything. We have all these outlets to find the answers, kind of, and put our mind at ease that, okay, this is normal. I'm not alone. Everyone else
end.
Yeah.
We'll get through it.
Yeah. That is still is, I think, the most challenging is establishing routine, obviously, because now I have 3 and my youngest is around 14 or 14-ish months. So I'm still like always juggling that of how do I get into routine?
And not to throw this word out there, but the other thing I remember is COVID had just started when RJ was born. Actually, we went to Vegas and we brought him. He was 2 months old. And then we came back and everything shut down. So like we knew about COVID and went anyways because we didn't know the severity around what the heck was about to happen. And I remember we weren't even supposed to visit another household. And I remember I was in here one day with RJ and he was just screaming and wouldn't stop all day. And I called my mom crying. She's like, come over. I was like, but I'm not allowed. And she's like, oh my God, get over here. What?
But she was in Vegas with you.
No, in Vegas. But I mean, like, the world shut down after that. Like, for 2 years after that, by May, there was not even the shopping malls open, nothing. Like, you were not allowed to go even to your another family member's house. Yeah. And I had RJ with me. And I'm like, so it was also a weird time because none of the girls really came in the office. It was just me because I'm like, well, I can come to the office. It's another spot that's mine. Like it was to the point where they're like, you shouldn't be traveling. You should be staying home unless you're doing essential things like going to get groceries. But I'm like, I'm going to go to my second home, which is the office. Anyways. Yeah. That added another thing into it.
You remember? So I just looked for as many loopholes as possible. And one of the rules was like, it's a single family household unless that person is like a caretaker. I'm like, my mom is definitely a caretaker of my children.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, now it sounds so ridiculous. Like to be scared to ask your mom for help with a newborn. That sounds so crazy. I can't even believe we went through that, but we won't go down that rabbit hole because the world's just half stopped talking about it.
Like not even fully out of that rabbit hole.
No, exactly. And then the next question is, would you do anything differently the next time? What I got written down here? I would. Based on what I was saying was the hardest thing, I would try to fix that. Like, again, it's about batching a bunch of content that doesn't require for me to get up and get ready and be perfectly presentable to be able to accomplish what I feel fuels my business the best.
Right.
So getting way ahead of that game. And then that way, when I do have whatever extra time I do have, I can spend that on current events where I need to be relevant, whether it's with client meetings or whether it's with a market update that only makes sense then, like just like things that should happen in real time. But there are so many things that I guess one thing about me that I didn't realize until this is I feel like I'm such an in the moment person when I'm doing content because I'm so real and I want to actually talk like, I don't know. I'm not one of those people that's great at like batching a bunch of Instagram content and like planning out for months. I feel like that's like a chore. But if I'm like in the moment, I'm having fun and I want to post it right away. So then it's like really hard for me to make like really good videos and then not share them right away. It's like I just spent that was exciting and fun. How come I can't talk about it already? So I'm going to have to like calm my nerves a bit on that and just try to get into a different routine. To make my life easier because you don't really know what's going to come up. You should be able to step away from your business. And I think that I run my business and my business runs me. But if I'm not there, it's not going to be great. All that being said, you can absolutely take a break from your business.
Right.
But you have to plan around it. There's lots of realtors who pay into like mat leave and get that money. But I was more concerned personally about like clientele and keeping my name and my brand going successfully. Like it takes a long time.
Yeah.
So you don't want people to forget about you. They won't forever, but it's going to take time after you're done your mat leave to like ramp up again and like let everybody know, hi, I'm back to work.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Would you do anything differently next time? Laura tries to say, like, I remember one time, because everybody thinks like, oh my gosh, you have 3 kids. And one time she's like, well, if I did have another, I'm like, oh my God. Okay. So you're having another for sure. For sure. You'll have another kid. So we know they'll end up having.
I really want a girl.
And then Zach's like, we can have another kid, but I only produce boys. So
Zach, yeah. Uh-huh. He's like, maybe
the boy factory.
A girl. I'm like, I don't want 5.
You Anywho. Watch. She'll get pregnant with twin boys.
Oh my God, Chelsea. Why would you even say that?
I don't know.
Oh, you're cruel. Differently next time. Not really. Each one's been so different.
Yeah.
Each time my life has been in such a different place each time. Even though it was like a short period of time that I had them, a lot changed in those
You're right.
periods of time. Like when Zach and I got pregnant with Arlo, we were scared. And we, like, to be honest, we were struggling. So the only thing I kind of would change was that, yes, financially, I would have liked to be in a different place, because I remember being so, and I don't know if anyone feels like this, but I feel like people do, especially because of social media. I remember feeling so weird and judgmental of myself because I couldn't afford the stroller that I wanted. I couldn't get the fancy bassinet that I wanted. And I couldn't make things look the way that I would want them to look. Do you know what I mean? And then when the baby gets here, you actually realize that none of that matters at all. And that all the cute clothes that you think you're going to put them in, no, you don't.
Or they have like poop stains at the back. Like
they exist in sleepers for probably the first 6 months, like realistically.
Yeah.
And just all these things. So I remember even with Bo and Cash, we were in a different situation that way. And I definitely splurged and got a few different things, but it's so funny because I didn't like go overboard,
right,
and get the things that
I wouldn't either. I would have just got, like, the second time around, there's not a chance I'd be having like, I don't think I'd be having like a baby shower or anything. Like that's like, I don't know.
I had like a meet and greet once.
That's cute. I think there's a difference to like celebrate the baby.
Yeah. And it wasn't like bring presents, although people always do, but it wasn't that intention. It was to come and mingle, and like, we called it a sip and see. We had, of course, me.
Not to say that you shouldn't. I just know that we would not need that based on how crazy I went the first time. But the reason I'm laughing when you say that is because I remember being pregnant and being in, oh my God, what is it called? Bye Bye Baby in Halifax. Yeah. And there's this girl in there and Ben's there. So I'm thinking like, don't say that in front of him, because this is not helping my case, because I'm trying to convince him that we need the Mamaroo, which is like $400 at least. Mm-hmm. So I'm in there and I'm like, there it is. Like, we'll get the black and white one or whatever it is. And the girl's like, oh my God.
Aesthetically pleasing one, of course.
Yeah. She's like, oh my God, don't bother. My baby hated it. And Ben's like, well, like, we're not going to splurge on that if the baby's not even going to like it. So and I was like, oh, like, come on. Like, every baby's so different, blah, 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 blah. Like, we're getting it. RJ hated it. He was in it twice, maybe 3 times. He absolutely hated it. I bought it. Somebody else lucked out on Marketplace because I'm terrible for actually selling things for what they're worth. And I just said, hopefully it's going to a good spot. What a waste. And you know what I bought? This little monkey colorful one that is from Toys R Us, and it swings back and forth. And he was dead asleep right away in it, rocking back and forth. That's what I had in the office. And that's the best one. And it folds right up. And it's just like, why do we think this shit is important? I really don't know. I think we all do the same thing. It's probably social media, like you said.
It really is.
It's so stupid.
by mummy bloggers. Sorry, mummy bloggers, but you make me want those beautiful strollers and the Mamaroo. And what's that new one? The Snoo or something? Like,
oh, that was out too. And I was like, I'm not getting it. It like rocks them. And I'm like, but then they're going to depend on it. I was tried to be practical about that stuff, especially with a baby monitor, which we get like some crappy one. But I wanted it to be able to work if we weren't on Wi-Fi, because we go to a cottage or a camp or whatever, and it doesn't have Wi-Fi. And I didn't want, not to say that any of this is right, but I didn't get the Snoo because I'm like, what, is that going to be the only way the baby goes to sleep? I'm not bringing the Snoo over to his grandmother's and to here and there, or like where we're, and then they're just not going to sleep while I'm there. Like, so I just knew our life was crazy, and I knew it was like pick up and go, but I couldn't tell you what's better, because I'm telling you right now, my friends who did have a mat leave and were home and got to do the sleep routine, like Haley's babies, down, sleep, whatever. She could have planned times because they had consistency. They were in a blackout room, naps, whatever. RJ was kind of like, wherever we go, you want to sleep, you can sleep, kid, but you're wherever I am. Exactly. But he's a terrible sleeper, like at night. Like he'll, I mean, he's better now, but he'll still come down in the middle of the night. There's pros and cons to both.
RJ probably as well. My kids travel very well because of that. We didn't have routines like that.
RJ does.
We didn't have set schedules, blacked out rooms, all these sound machines have to be on, and et cetera, et cetera. And hey, if that works for you, kudos. I'm also very envious of those people.
Yeah, for their schedule
at the same time every night, and then they get that downtime or that work time, whatever it is for them.
Yeah.
I'm totally envious of that. But I also really appreciate that all my kids can get up and go with us anywhere.
Yeah.
And they don't make a fuss about what bed they're sleeping in. When they go to Nana's or Grammy's, or when we go to see Chelsea, like they adapt quite well that way. So that part's nice. And it's not like if we're out at 7:30 and that's their bedtime and we're at a restaurant
that we have to leave.
Unfortunately, they don't lose their shit. They actually
are happy.
Yeah. So I appreciate that now. And I think I will continue to appreciate that piece of it. Because we are kind of like go, go, go people. Did it matter the last 2 years? No. But no, I wouldn't necessarily do things differently. I would care less about that piece.
Me too.
Like on my first baby. We actually did end up getting a Mamaroo with Bo and Cash. And I got it at a consignment shop. I got it like cheap.
Marketplace is your best friend too. And
it worked so well.
Yeah. And I have a lot of, like, Amanda and Alex's babies both loved Mamaroo. It was, and my cousin's wife, like she was like, oh, we could not live without this. So it just goes to show you
for like the first 6 months, because they don't really
you might even borrow it from a friend if they have it or something. Don't ruin it on them. Or
like circle through the stuff.
True. Right? And besides that, check Marketplace and don't be buying it brand new, because your kid, and they may not even like it. Like there should be a store to rent things and bring them back a week later.
There is in a lot of cities actually.
Oh, really?
Like you can rent the Snoo in bigger cities. You can't here in St. Stephen.
Yeah.
I don't think that I'd make my money back if I started that business, but
no.
I don't think that it really matters that much, to be honest. But you do have those options in like the bigger cities. I've seen. That's cool. Yeah. And what was the other thing I was going to mention with like Arlo with a swing? We did the same thing. We got one. It wasn't a Mamaroo, but it was a swing, and it went this way, side to side. He hated it.
The one that RJ loves goes back and forth.
Yeah. And our Mamaroo, you can go back and forth or side to side.
Or there's like this motion around in a circle. Lily liked it before RJ was.
Lily, of course.
Bougie Lily was like, yeah, she does.
But the other thing I had down of like doing differently, and it's not really doing differently, but I think it's accepting that if you're in a place to be able to do this, then do it, is to get more help and to be okay with asking for help.
True.
So don't feel like you need to do it all. If that is help with clean your house, if that is help with doing laundry and putting it away, like even if a parent can come over and they're willing to help with whatever, or if a friend is offering, like, don't say no, you guys. Like, don't be
True.
too proud, especially in that newborn stage. I've had lots of friends be like, hey, I'm at the superstore right now. Do you need anything so that you don't need to run out? Yeah, like, thank you. And with my first, I absolutely would have been like, no, it's okay. Don't worry. I'm good over here. Meanwhile, I'm like, oh my God, it's going to take me an hour and a half to pack up this baby and go get groceries.
There's scream at, I remember this, just, I was almost done and I was at the register and I had a big order because I'm like, oh, he's being good. So I filled at the bottom of like,
went all out.
I went all out. I got the groceries. I didn't have to go back again in the bottom of the stroller, and we almost made it out. And we were at the self-checkout, and this woman felt so bad for me. She's like, oh my God, I remember the days. Is there anything I can do? I'm like, it's okay. But he was wailing. There was this big line behind me, and I was just like trying to be so quick, and then I'm dropping shit, and just the life, the anxiety around going out somewhere when you have your first baby, like the things you don't think about, like, when am I going to feed them? Like, are they going to do this? Are they going to do that? Do I have enough of this? I forgot that. Am I like all to grocery shop? Like it's so you need to get help. Yeah. Take it.
And I will say that piece kind of goes away with your second.
Yeah, exactly. I just don't think you'd care.
You just care a lot less. And you'll make it work. It'll do.
And you can like order groceries and stuff now, like, which is so cool because that came out of COVID, really, or more popular with it. So you could order your groceries, pull up. And hopefully they're sleeping in the car. Just have them put it in your trunk.
Pop it in your trunk. It's the best. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I don't use that enough. But to be fair, now grocery time is like usually my alone time.
So you're like walking, you're like slow motion walking down the aisles like, do I want this? Let me think about it for a second.
When Zach gets home, he actually goes a lot and he'll always take like.
Ben never goes. That's a me job.
Zach loves grocery shopping. I don't, but I do like the alone time. So sometimes like if he's forgotten something, and he'll be like, oh, I'll run out and get it. I'm like, no, I'll run. I'll go get it.
I can do it.
You can stay home and get it.
What is that thing? I volunteer as tribute.
It's not real. It's totally me.
Yeah. If people don't listen to TikToks or Reels, they're probably like, you guys are just strange. But anyways, most of the world does. Okay. Our last question is, what are the pros versus cons to running a business as a mom versus working for someone in a normal job?
You know what? I didn't even see this question.
Oh well, we're gonna get your real answer today. I can
totally wing this one, anyways.
I think this one's pretty easy. There's two, like, honestly, they're totally opposite, and they're both huge. So it's like it's kind of split down the middle. Like, when you work for somebody, you get to go and shut your brain off. And you get a mat leave, number one.
When you get home, you get to shut your brain off.
Yeah. First of all, you get a mat leave. And then second of all, when you're at work, you're at work. And when you go home, you're at home. Your head gets to be focused on whatever you want, on your family, on decompressing, on whatever. You're not forced to have 15 million other things besides being a mom on your head.
There are people that carry their work home, and I think that's their personality type. Like some people,
and it might be part of their job. Like there's different jobs. Right. It's not so black and white. There's not one job that like you get to shut your brain off. But I'm talking about those roles. And most people who do have flexible jobs that they have to be flexible for, I could be wrong, but I'm going to guess there's a reason for that. Possibly you're in a higher position that's paid more or whatever. I don't know. Or you're on some sort of bonus structure. I'm not sure.
There's usually a perk on the
There's a perk for having to do that normally.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, like when I was like in my little pity party about like, mom guilt, not knowing like, should I have really taken a mat leave that was just this time for me, blah, blah, blah. And what I have come to realize, which I definitely know now, like with kids at a daycare and like when someone has a cough or if there's a snow day or something's happening, like there's so much flexibility around that. So while we didn't get the time when they were first born, I feel like we're going to get to be there for field trips, and we're going to get really involved in their sports. Does it take time away from our business? Yes, but that comes with us being aware, making some changes, and and deciding either what's more important or how can I put something else in place to make sure that this still runs. And I'm telling you, that's not easy. Like sometimes it takes years to make those things better, where your business is going to have a dip, but you do have the choice. You have the choice to have the flexibility. Like there's definitely some times where I know it's not going to be flexible. So it's just stupid for me to think that, oh, I'm going to be super flexible right now. But ultimately at the end of the day, you do have more flexibility. Mind you, your head doesn't get to stop. So to me, I almost penalize myself when I'm not working. My head does, being like, you should probably be doing something for work right now. So it's hard to give myself the permission. It's made it easier with a baby because I feel, or a kid, I feel they put a different purpose to the reason why you're taking time away from work. And that is, for me, that's a really good thing, because before having RJ, anytime I wasn't working, it was like, you could be doing better, which is a very savage and unhealthy way to think. And sometimes it takes you loving somebody else outside of your body.
Prioritizing them.
Yeah. To be like, I'm doing the right thing.
It's also important to prioritize yourself.
It is. And it's important for me to prioritize myself outside of like my family. I don't know if I've really gotten there yet.
That one yet.
No.
And I will say I haven't either.
No, that's hard. It's hard to take care of everybody, including yourself, and you're probably the most important. But yeah, there's really hard pros and cons to both. So it's really just the path that you choose to take. And some people have really great relationships and flexibility with their boss that understand important moments in their life or when things come up. And then some jobs just don't really care. If it's like a certain whatever and they're like, too bad, so sad, get in here.
Yeah. I will say, because I've had both.
Both. Yeah.
Yeah. So like with, I did have that. I had a very understanding boss, a very a fairly flexible situation, especially with COVID coming along. It introduced more opportunity to be able to work from home. Yeah. So then, of course, with kids and all the things daycare wise with COVID, like I had to also carry that flexibility over even further, because sometimes it would be that
the whole place would shut down.
They have a fever, and there's rules about when they can go back fever free and et cetera, et cetera. So sometimes they'd be home for like 3 days in 1 week, and I have to work from home on those days. Anyhow, that's a long thing to get into. But the point being is, yes, I was very fortunate that I had a boss that was super understanding and just like, he made it work with me. And sometimes that meant I knew that there were only a certain amount of things I could get done during the day alone at home with them. And then when Zach got home, then I had to clock in and do some extra things.
Yeah.
And my boss was understanding and allowing me to do that. But on the same side of that, I was then sacrificing my evenings, with us as a family unit, because I had to get that work done and then also get my other work done, because I was growing my side business, which is now my main thing. So yes, that was a struggle. And I think what I found the hardest was having the guilt of like, am I getting enough done? Am I still living up to what I need to be doing?
For somebody else, you mean?
For somebody else. Like,
I feel like I'm harder on my own. I feel like I know when I've been productive enough for someone else. And for me, it's never enough. I've never given myself that permission. Like, I can honestly say that's pretty unhealthy, and I get it. But like, if I was working for Wayne and I knew what his assistants would get done before that, and they were rock stars or whatever. But I said to Wayne, like, he'll never listen to this. Anyways, he'd be like, what's a podcast? I'm not listening to that. I remember he said in the beginning, because Karen was working for him and she was
Yeah.
amazing, but she would get so stressed out that she would go home and get work done in the evenings because she was so afraid that it wasn't enough. And he said,
Right.
someday you'll get as much work done as Karen. I said, maybe Wayne, I will, but I can tell you right now, I'm not doing homework. And
Yeah.
she does. So if
Yeah.
it's not the same, like I knew there was boundaries, but I also didn't mess around. If I missed time, I knew I was productive during his hours. And if I wasn't and I had to step out for something, I would absolutely ensure that I had that hour done later. But for myself, I don't have those boundaries because
No.
there's always
But
something
when
else
you're
I'm dreaming
working
up.
for someone else and you have kids at home and
Yeah.
you're trying to like clock how much work you got done between also, okay, I got this, and this done.
And then got
I had
interrupted.
for lunch and then I got interrupted because
Yeah.
this show paused or something broke, whatever.
Somebody had to use a bathroom. And
Yes. So then you go through your head of like, okay, well, was that enough? Like, did I get enough done?
yeah.
Did I accomplish what I could have if I was at work today? You know, so that's kind of what I mean is like you go through you play these scenarios in your head, or I did. I played these scenarios in my head. So then I was stressing about that. So that was a con for me because of working for someone else and trying to do all of the other stuff too.
True.
Another big thing, I guess, so it's a pro for self-employment and a con for working with someone else. But another pro to being self-employed is, for me, is 1000% the time off situation. Because
you don't have to ask someone to go on a vacation, you mean?
No. Yeah. Because I have 2 conferences a year.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of time off already. So between your 2 conferences, between COVID using up all your sick days because you have however many kids in daycare and they're missing like weeks worth in the whole year, it seems. So you use up all your sick days for that. And then you have to use more vacation days for that. And then you try to actually have a family vacation. Saying you want to have just one family vacation. Like we like to go and do things. I do anyways. So I don't know. That was always like
something
a driving
on your mind.
for me of like, I just don't want to have that stipulation of you get 2 weeks a year, or you get 3 weeks a year,
and approve when it is.
Right. Like I love the flexibility. And I think that I've always wanted that because as kids, we had that. My dad was self-employed. My mom worked. She was self-employed from time to time, but she also had other jobs. But there was a period in time where she was a stay-at-home mom. So when dad was self-employed and we had that kind of flexibility, I loved that he was at my basketball games. They were at my skating practices.
I forgot you played basketball. I cannot picture it. I cannot. Figure skating, I can picture. I can't picture you playing basketball.
And rugby.
What? Oh, I think I knew about rugby. Yeah, because I've seen pictures of that.
Yeah. But yeah, it was, and like having him home for Christmas without a question, there's people that have to work. And we're just very lucky. And I just always want to have that. I didn't have to work Christmas in my other job, but still, you had to work between Christmas and New Year's. And I hated that because like, I always want that week off.
Yeah. I mean, what are you really going to get done in that time? It definitely depends on your job, obviously. But like in our jobs, I always like try to think of it both ways, like because I have an assistant and like, what are we really going to get done? Like, I think normally what I do is just let them have those days off and let them know if anything catastrophic came up, possibly we can work on it from home. And if it's something that can wait, then it doesn't matter. If there was like something crazy and normally nothing comes up.
Yeah.
But what I also try to keep in mind is like, sometimes I let that happen and then I end up with more things on my plate because I've given other people time off. So I think that I need to sometimes always think like, what's a good compromise in between? So I'm not and ruining it for me too. But yeah,
I think, the other, like you said, what did you say about the con?
Lord knows.
Oh, like shutting off my brain. That's the part that you don't get to do in business for yourself. 'Cause it feels like there's nothing ever actually
done. It's never finished.
You know what I mean? Like there's always something you can be doing. Always. I have never ever felt like there's not something I could be working on.
Yeah.
So that is definitely the part that is like, that's a con, is especially if you can't. And I don't know. I don't have a solution for this one, guys. If you do, oh my gosh, please give it to us. Cause I was going to say, especially if you're one that can't shut off your brain. Like I haven't been sleeping all week because I lay in bed and my wheels start spinning.
I email myself. Okay. I email myself every night with everything that's on my brain. And then that way, or like even if I'm thinking a brain dump or to-do list, normally it's normally a to-do list.
Yeah.
Cause I get scared that I will forget it. And then I like dream all night as if something happened about that topic. And I feel like I didn't even sleep. So I send myself an email and then I wake up in the morning and it's there. So it's the only time that I'm like, well, I'm not going to forget it. I just wrote it out. So go to sleep, you moron.
Yeah. I make a note in my phone of like a checklist, but still there, I don't know why. I just keep laying there and thinking about things. It doesn't shut it off for me.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's just lately though. So
I go through phases of that too.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what that's all about. But yeah.
Yeah. This is not like a clear cut, like anything. Those are just all the things we think about and the pros and cons.
All the things that come up with babies in business.
Yeah. And again, I can't wait till one of us has another baby so we can like get the inside scoop as it's happening. Cause I think I forget half the shit that actually happened. It was such a whirlwind that like you look back at pictures and you're like, I don't even remember when they would have been that small or what we were doing. Like I already forget when my friends now like have babies when kids do things. I'm like, oh, they eat at that month. Like
already. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I can't remember.
Every single child I've had. I'm still Googling all the same things or looking up on the app, all the same things. Like, okay, when am I expecting this? And when do I need to be starting them on solids? And
thank gosh for daycare because, and I know that I did 8 months where I was Googling and stuff. But RJ went to daycare at 8 months. I know it's early for some people, but he did. And thank goodness, because they are used to having so many kids at those ages. And then I'm like asking the teachers all these questions like, okay, like, so at this age they do that? And they're like, yeah. And they
constantly have babies in there at that
age. They do. And then they have everybody else's babies too. So you can kind of see what everybody's doing. Not that you need to be on par with anything, but I don't want to like steer anybody in the wrong direction. So it was good insight to be like, okay, I like that's happening to them. That's probably soon going to happen for RJ. And it did. Yeah. So yeah, I learned a lot from the girls and guys at daycare.
Yeah.
So thanks. Yeah, I feel like that's it. I have nothing else on this topic right now. I feel like it was such a good one because it got us off. Like it wasn't so, businessy and more like stuff you got to deal with alongside of your business. So I think it was a good one.
And like, I think it would be really cool to hear what other people have experienced in this. Like, did you have surprise kids and just get thrown into it like me? Or were you able to really plan and prepare and you think that's totally the way to go and it worked out really well? Like, I would love to hear other people's stories on that because I think every journey is so different and we all take different things away from that.
Yeah. And you can only plan so much. Like I could
that you did that the next times around kind of helped me. Do you know what I mean? Like it made me realize, okay, I can plan and prepare some things ahead of time in my business. Like, let me take that practice that Chelsea applied and flip it and put it over onto my business. How can I kind of switch that? And
you can teach me to chill out a bit.
Yeah. The same goes for Chelsea sometimes. It's like, she just needs that nudge of, hey, no, not everything's going to be perfect.
Yeah.
Like we just.
I was ridiculous. It just worked out because any realtors are going to laugh at this because I sound like a moron. And again, it could take us forever the next time. And I know that a lot of people struggle in that. And then the schedule goes right out the window. Like that's just, it's silly. But I was like, well, just in case. I was like, Ben, I really don't want to have a baby in the spring market.
I knew it. I knew you were going to say that.
Because there's so like, if there's
Kelsey's
ever
babies will be born between probably like October and January.
Well, next time I would not mind. Here we go planning, just in case anybody wants to know when Ben and I are trying to have a baby. I feel like next time I would be okay with like the first quarter of the year or a summer baby, but like, yeah, having a baby in the spring market would be a lot because there's normally way more inquiries, and I think my headspace would be swirling. However, whenever it happens, I am so happy and blessed to like have, you know, a baby. Obviously, you're not going to be like complaining, but like if you had a choice, then you kind of at least try for that scenario.
Yeah.
It did work the last time within a couple months. Like I was like, oh, anytime in the fall into December. So it took a little bit, but not that long. And he's a December baby. So it worked out really well. I mean, I'm not going to lie. That part worked out really well. I was not stressed for the time that I did kind of take very, very slow because it was the holidays.
I was going to say, I think like January would be a nice cutoff month for you because it starts revving up sometimes in March. So you don't want like a 1
I know,
but
being Ben's birthday is in November and then ours is in December. And like, that's a lot of work. Like, it's a lot of work. But like birthday. Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Oh God.
Cash is May 23rd and Beau's May 31st.
Yeah.
And
like that's a lot of work.
Having those two in 1 week is like insane.
Yeah. So like, that's another reason why like it could be a little bit spread out. Christmas in there. And we've got all this family to see around that time. And, you know, we could spread out the events. It'd be a little bit of fun. So I might just have to deal with that the next time. I don't really know, but whatever. Make it work.
Maybe February.
February would be great. I had February 1st in mind. Let's see if that happens. Can you imagine? I'm thinking around supper. Just thinking about supper time. I mean, I would get to pick a C-section date, but like it does have to be in the realm of a healthy baby. So. Okay. Everyone's going to know I'm crazy.
Let's wrap it up.
Wrap it up. It's after an hour now. Okay. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in.